And we keep things rolling here on the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. And shout out to producer Paul, who sent me this story. And it's something that I want to talk about a little bit here on the show. And it has to deal with the way we're going to be consuming our favorite type of entertainment, how our favorite types of entertainment, both in sports and in entertainment, are going to integrate this into their world. And we've seen the impact on how this has had on day-to-day people, and that is artificial intelligence. And I want to, this is from the Sports Business Journal. The article is called Citigroup CMO Discusses Company Sports Marketing Strategy by Wes Anderson. So this is the specific part of the article I wanted to check out. And the question is to the CMO, what are a couple topics you're watching as possible game changers in the industry? Quote, the impact, positive or otherwise, of AI and how that starts to change the landscape in terms of content creation and consumption. We've seen the world over the last 15 years change a lot with the rise of digital, rise of data, and it makes reaching people simpler, but at times harder. So if you layer in something like Gen AI into that, you've then got Gen AI started to make decisions about what we see and when we see it and how the brand shows up. I think that's a piece that we're keeping an eye on, and Gen AI, generative artificial intelligence. So check out the entire article. It's not that long. It's an interesting one from the Sports Business Journal. Citigroup CMO discusses company's sports marketing strategy. And I think a blanket statement, or at least if you want to put a pin on what I think about AI doesn't scare me maybe the way it does a lot of people. And it's not because I'm this big AI user or that I don't see the pitfalls. And we'll get to all that. I've always believed in the best of worlds, artificial intelligence will be a tool and not a replacement. If you're a doctor, a surgeon, it helps with procedures that are almost impossible, or it helps the recovery rate or the success rate. In sports, it's used to find the best medicine, the best strategy. It's not used to replace you. It's not used to replace actors and actresses, musicians, you on the day-to-day work, whether you sell insurance or drive a truck. Content creation should be used as a tool to help with some forms of editing, not just making and throwing the slop out there. So in sports, we've already seen the marriage of artificial intelligence and competition. And it's been in the MMA world, in boxing as well, where they've had AI scoring the fights. And sometimes it's been close, sometimes it hasn't. I think it was the Tyson Fury Usyk fight, where Usyk won for the second time. There was an AI robot scoring the fight as well. And, it was hit or miss. So it's not like this has not happened before. And I think if you're a sports fan, the one thing you always worry about anything is the spirit of competition. And I don't think AI is going to have any kind of influence in that way, because the one thing that makes sports invaluable is that it's live and real, even if we have the script. You know what I mean? Like, it's still something that people hold on to. Championship Sunday. It's going to be one of the biggest television days in the entire year. And then just a week and a half later, 2 weeks, it's the biggest day in the Super Bowl. So we know that they won't mess with it in that way. Where I think you're going to see maybe the greediness of capitalism. And of course, it always goes back to capitalism. How can somebody make money? How can a company make money? If the NFL, for example, decides during the offseason after the Super Bowl that there's going to be the NFL AI League, where they simulate and create all these different cities and teams, and they let the machine kind of take fans' influence and how fans talk throughout the entire season, and they take teams that are already from certain cities and teams that don't have teams, and maybe that's the way they find strategy of who engages in this. And from February until April, that's when the AI League happens, and then it's draft season, and then they take off the rest of the way. It's back to real NFL. That doesn't sound so crazy. NFL AI League is right around the corner, I believe. When you hear big time CEOs, CMOs, CFOs, producers, and presidents and commissioners kind of embracing it. Heck, Dana White's going to be on the meta board. You don't think for 1 second the way Zuckerberg loves MMA, UFC, and they all love each other right now, this boys club they all have, that they're not going to try to influence it in a way where the things that they're into, that they like, that they think is the future of this, of each league of entertainment. Again, I don't know how much it will influence. Where I think it will be dangerous, and I agree with people, is let's say in boxing, in the UFC, in PFL, that scoring by judges, which, you know, on its own, we know are sketchy as it is, but taking the human element out of it and just having robots and just making it point leagues, essentially. Is it infallible? Is AI going to be so perfect? Are we going to trust it in that much? Is there still human control somewhat in it? It has to still be programmed, even if it's learning. So I can see, you know, how that could scare people. But think about how replays and cameras and technology is already advanced your enjoyment of sports. The NFL in particular, as its championship weekend, there's no better way to watch Championship Sunday, even if you're a Commanders fan, an Eagles fan, a Bills fan, a Chiefs fan, is then you're home. The comforts of watching the game at its best presentation because of all the technology it has to make the game at its best, to present it in a whole new level that every other league is trying to catch up to. Tennis does great stuff with the lines, and European soccer with the goals and the offsides. Every league is trying to catch up except for baseball. It's always the slowest to do anything. But the NFL has been a league that has benefited with technology and movement of technology and trying to keep up with it. Heck, even simple things, which would be more production and how they film and shoot certain angles, but even using the certain cameras. You know, I'm sure at that time, back with those unions in the 80s and the late 80s into the 90s, into the 2000s, where you're taking away camera people's jobs. And now there's even more camera people, and people have to operate that technology. That's going to be the sweet spot. AI as a tool and not as a replacement. And it's too easy for big-time corporations, big-time billionaires to use the easy route. It would be more difficult. It is more difficult to integrate human and AI integration together. You know, it's easy for me to say, but the spirit of it is there. If in the best of worlds, if everybody could agree on anything, right? Kumbaya. AI at its best should be a tool for all of us. For the artists to help them when they have that writer's block, that artist block. For the truck driver or the mechanic or the AC dude, give them the tools, give them the hints, give them something they haven't seen before, or this tool work here, or if you do this diameter there, or if you, all the jargon that people that work with their hands know. To the doctors, to be able to have transplant surgeries, to cure heart disease, to cure cancers, to sports. The simple things of AI giving you more stats, making your arguments more detailed, giving us better cameras and filters and all that, making the game look better. That's what it should be, but it should never be the replacement, because it can't replace real humans doing spectacular things like we're going to see on Championship Sunday, and like we see all around the sports world and the real life world, the everyday Joe, the mom and dad, the surgeon, the mechanic doing amazing stuff. Imagine if you actually had a tool that can even amplify that without you having to worry about replacing you. So that's my thought on it, but I thought it was very fascinating that, you know, AI is going to be a big part of all of our entertainment, all of our outlets, all our consumption. Heck, the way we interact with the world, it's going to be a part of it. Can't even, when you tell somebody to Google it, it's not even the same Google. It's the Google AI, right? So it's a new day. So it's going to be interesting how we all kind of blend together and how we all migrate together with this new technology. So we want to know your thoughts. How do you think this will impact the sports world? We know how it's impacting the real world. So we want to know your thoughts. We're on Twitter at Sports Cubicle TV. We're on YouTube. Subscribe, like us over on the YouTube channel at The Sports Cubicle. And of course, check us out over at SoundCloud, WCPT 820/tracks. Search The Sports Cubicle. We got a whole lot left on this edition of The Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado.